morning, everybody.
Good morning.
First, I'd like to begin by thanking all of you for your presence here this morning. I'd like to recognize my brother bishops, Bishop Madden and Bishop Rosansky, also my brother priest, members, my co-workers here at the Catholic Center at the Archdiocese, and in a very special way, my warmest greetings to you who are the members of the press. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I'd like to offer some words of appreciation for Pope Benedict XVI and for his leadership of the Roman Catholic Church for these past 8 years. His Holiness is a profound and loving teacher of the faith, a courageous defender of human rights and dignity, and he is a man of prayer, humility, reflection, and wisdom. When I received the pallium at his hands last June, and again when I met with him just 6 or 7 weeks ago, His Holiness expressed great affection for the Archdiocese of Baltimore, and he expressed his appreciation for the history of this Archdiocese as the first and the oldest in these United States. This morning I spoke with Cardinal O'Brien, my predecessor. He was, of course, present for the Holy Father's momentous announcement, and he asked me to remember him to you, as I happily do now. My single task this morning is to request the prayers of the faithful of the Archdiocese of Baltimore and the prayers of all women and men of goodwill for Pope Benedict as he concludes his long and loving service to the Church. I also ask everyone to pray for the Church herself as preparations are being made for the election of Pope Benedict's successor. Once again, thanks for your presence, and I'd be pleased to take your questions.
Are you ready? If you can just start with just your reaction about hearing this.
I was surprised to hear about it this morning. I was thinking that I might get a late start this morning, and maybe I'd had a big weekend and a very busy week last week. I thought, well, maybe I'll start a little slower this morning than usual, but of course, the minute I heard it, I was surprised. I certainly didn't expect to hear that this morning. I did think back, however, to times when the Pope had said publicly that if he ever reached the point where he felt that he didn't have the stamina for the job, he would resign. I do remember his saying that, but at the same time, it's always a big surprise. The first thing that comes over is there are unconfirmed reports, but you know if they're saying that, it's probably going to be confirmed, and it was within minutes. So I think my first reaction was one of surprise. My second reaction was to slip into chapel and to say a prayer for Pope Benedict and for the Church.
What do you think the Catholic Church needs in its next leader? Do we need somebody from the developing world or the Western Hemisphere?
It's probably way above my pay grade, if I may say. I think that the first thing we need to do in thinking about the Pope's successor is first of all to pray. This is not simply a matter of politics. It's not simply an electoral process like we are used to. It really begins with an act of worship and prayer. And I think that whomever they elect, I think must first and foremost be a faithful and loving teacher of the faith, and must be someone who has a pastor's heart, capable of embracing 1 million people from every culture and every language on earth. And whether the Holy Father comes, the new Holy Father comes from a developing country or from a developed country, certainly that will be a big consideration. Can he embrace every language and culture on the face of this earth? Imagine what a job description that is.
What is the significance between a resignation and the retirement? Most people might think that someone, whatever their background is, at age 85 would announce their retirement.
Well, of course, we don't have much experience with this. The last time this happened was an awfully long time ago. I don't think that I think that there's only one Holy Father, and so what he's doing is not retiring in this way that you and I think about retirement. You know, you got your 401k, and you know you got your little place, and you go off and you do it. The Holy Father lives a very different kind of an existence, and so what he basically said is that he is renouncing, he is giving up the office of Roman Pontiff in order to lead a life of prayer and reflection for his remaining days. So his ministry continues. He won't be the Holy Father anymore, but he will still be a man of the church, a man of prayer, and I can imagine that his already intense life of prayer will intensify even more as he moves into the future. So the thought of retiring in our sense of the word would be exceedingly foreign, even unknown to this Holy Father, and really in a certain sense to most of us. You know, we speak about retired priests in the Archdiocese here. Let me just say a word about them. Most priests, until they are absolutely physically unable to function, because we just love doing what we're doing. Chris?
What will be Pope Benedict's legacy lasting longer, other than just, he's the Pope who resigned? What else will we think about him in the future?
That's a great question. He is a teacher of the faith par excellence. Long before he became Holy Father, he wrote, as one person put it, a shelf full of books and numerous articles that are profound, insightful, and show a mind that is broadly educated, and he is a deeply cultured man. And he has brought all of that to bear on the teaching office of the Church. He will, I hope and pray, be remembered as the Pope of the new evangelization, who exercised his papacy to ensure that the Church in the future would be dedicated to a fresh, vigorous, confident proclamation of the faith that would reach those who have not yet heard the good news, but would also reach those who have heard the good news, but whose faith and devotion have cooled. And he has really summoned the whole Church to make that not just what we do, but who we are. And so I would hope he would be remembered as the Pope of the new evangelization, first and foremost.
You said that you talked with Cardinal O'Brien, and apparently he will be playing a role apparently in terms of possible choice as well.
Yes, the Holy Father is elected by the College of Cardinals, and that there are 118 cardinals who are eligible to elect the new Holy Father. Cardinal O'Brien is one of those, and I think that should give us all a sense of real pride here in Baltimore that one of our own will be involved in choosing the next Holy Father. And so the Cardinal certainly spoke to me this morning about not only how momentous the announcement is, but also about, of course, all that's going on to get ready for the conclave. We don't know the exact timing yet, but I think it is within 15 to 20 days after the vacancy, which will occur on February the 28th.
Do you think that this sets a new precedent for the Catholic Church, that the Pope, seeing as how people are living to greater age in these days, that this sets the precedent going forward, that popes only serve until a certain age?
Well, I don't know if it sets the precedent. I don't know that this will bring about anything like a mandatory retirement age. I doubt that. But I would suspect that any future pope would certainly look at what Pope Benedict has done and take that into account. But no successor would be bound by what Pope Benedict has decided to do. I'd just like to remark on the humility of the Pope in reaching this decision. If you've ever had the privilege of seeing him up close or even just being introduced to him, he is a gentle, almost a courtly man, and very, very gracious with a ready smile and a good sense of humor. And so this is a solemn occasion for us, of course, but I hope we would just recognize the humanity of this Pope, who recognized that the stamina required for this role wasn't his any longer, and he really announced this to the whole world. That takes a marvelous, holy, and strong person to do this. So I'd just like to recognize that at this moment.
You saw the Pope several times over the last year. Have you seen his physical presence deteriorate in that time?
It's interesting you should ask that, Chris. I was with him about 7 weeks ago when I was in Rome, and there were only 3 of us in the room, and we had about a 15-minute conversation, and he spoke colloquial English, and he not only followed the conversation, he led and contributed to the conversation. When I saw him, I think the next day, and I was presented in a whole line of bishops and archbishops. When I got to him, he spoke once again about Baltimore. And so the Holy Father's mental alertness and acuity certainly seemed pretty wonderful to me. I think it's, I don't want to speculate, but I think it's the stamina that a job like that requires. When you think of who he sees every day, how many languages he works in, and all of that, and how many matters roll across his desk, I think it's really the stamina that requires. Other questions?
Do you think that it's possible that Cardinal O'Brien might himself be selected?
Well, I would never speculate who might become our next Holy Father. if he does, I hope he'll have me over for dinner. Great. Any other comments or questions from anybody?
Archbishop, you mentioned the Pope being a prolific writer, and he actually wrote several books while he was Pope. Are there any overarching messages from what the Pope writes about?
I think what shines through everything he writes about is the person of Christ. He has a way of writing and reflecting about Christ, whether it's officially or unofficially, that plucks Christ out of the pages of history and brings him into the present. And in a way that is real and palpable and made to address the issues of our day. It's really remarkable what he does. And he does it by allowing the full voice of our tradition to speak, and to speak in a concerted way. It is really remarkable to read almost anything that our Holy Father has written. It really transcends the categories of being liberal or conservative. I think the word that comes to mind is profound. Profoundly true. Life-giving, beautiful. Well, thank you everybody very much for your presence today. And once again, I invite everybody to keep the church very much in your prayers in the days that are to follow. Thanks so much.